Hey, what's up, guys and gals, fellow readers? Welcome back. We are going to continue to dive into the action portion of the book of the month, which is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. If you can read that, hopefully. Here's the cover for yourself. So we have been leveraging this book in a way of fighting obstacles in our life in any way, shape, or form. And the first part was covering perception, and then the next part was covering action, and that's where we're at right now. So we are going to go into the next strategy of action. Before we do, though, if you guys have enjoyed reading along with me, please hit the subscribe button. It helps me out to know that you guys are interested and committed to reading a book a month like myself. If not, the podcast that we produce and the blog on the website that will come about here. So hang with us. But anyways, let's get back to the book. So the last strategy we talked about was in praise of the flank attack. And that was really saying, okay, we've understood kind of these disciplines of action, and we've talked about kind of outmaneuvering people and being smart on our feet. This kind of plays into it a little bit, but this is maybe the ultimate way to trip your opponent up or make them or attack them in ways that they're not used to. And that is using obstacles against themselves. Ooh, didn't think about that, or I didn't, at least until when I read it. Anyways, to get in here. So one way to overcome an obstacle is to not whoopsie. One way to overcome an obstacle is not by attacking aggressively, but by withdrawing and letting the obstacle attack itself. Generally, this strategy is used when facing a much larger opponent, as direct force, as we talked earlier, would fail immediately. The power of opposites. This uses the power of others against themselves while we absorb their power, allowing us to recover, restore, recalculate, and then attack on our terms. So this is really, really good shit right here, especially as it says when you're fighting a larger opponent, to say, okay, what if I am a good strategist and think, instead of me coming right in or even using flanks and drawing them out, what if I can create some inner turmoil amongst them to make themselves attack themselves? And then we just kind of allow them to do that. And then that way they're using all their energy and resources to fight themselves, basically, and then we're waiting to attack them when they're most vulnerable. A good example of this is the Russians did this when they were attacked by Napoleon Bonaparte in Germany. They, instead of going out to fight these armies, they continued to retreat into their defenses, which made them appear weak. Yet what they were doing is they were letting the cold and the winter deplete their enemy. So they were almost drawing their enemy further and further into the terrain that they knew and how to survive in very well. And then when they either got sick and went home because it was so damn cold, or they got to the weak point, then they came in and were able to battle back in that regard. So I really like that, because it's kind of the last arrow in the quiver, so to speak, is being able to draw them in, or not even draw them in, I'm sorry. Kind of allow inner turmoil to really kind of eat them up through drama, through killing certain people in medieval days, obviously not today, but a lot of that kind of mental warfare, I would say, with this. And as always, we will refer to the book in some way, shape, or form. So, okay. So yes, sometimes we need to learn from Amelia Earhart and just take action. But we also have to be ready to see that restraint might be the best action for us to take. Sometimes in your life, you need to have patience. Wait for temporary obstacles to fizzle out. Let two jousting egos sort themselves out instead of jumping in immediately into the fray. Sometimes a problem needs less of you, fewer people, period, and not more. When we want things too badly, we can even be our own worst enemy. In our own eagerness, we strip the very screw strip the very screw that we would turn on and make it impossible to get whatever we want. We spin our tires in the snow and the mud, digging a deeper rut, one that we'll never get out of. We get so consumed in moving forward that we forget that there's another way to get where we're headed. It doesn't occur naturally, or it doesn't naturally occur to us that standing still, or in some instances, like the Russians, even going backwards, but that opens up maybe the best way to advance. Don't just do something, stand there. We push and we push to get a raise, a new client, to prevent things from happening. And really that kind of creates our own detriment. Or we might be to aim for something else entirely, and we use the impediment as an opportunity to explore a new direction. In doing so, because we've retreated in this instance, we might end up creating a whole new venture that replaces our insufficient income entirely, or we might discover that in ignoring clients, we actually attract more, finding that they want to work with someone who doesn't so badly want to work with them. So this is just kind of that natural give and take, right? Sometimes you can push, and I'm in sales, so I've push, and sometimes when you pull back, people are not expecting that because they're expecting you to sell them, and yet that can be the largest psychological win. Okay. We wrongly assume that moving forward is the only way to progress, the only way we can win. Sometimes staying put, going sideways, or even moving backwards is actually the best way to eliminate the blocks or the impediments in your path. What matters is whether a certain approach gets you to where you want to go. And let's be clear. Using obstacles against themselves is very different than doing nothing. Passive resistance is, in fact, incredibly active, but those actions come from a form of discipline, self control, fearlessness, determination, and grand strategy. Going back to that strategy piece again, that says, hey, we're not just going to come right at you. That's not our only strategy we're going to leverage. We're going to try to flank attack you. We're going to make you implode on yourself. We're going to try to maybe draw you in so we can come around the backside. These are all really good thoughts in trying to defeat the obstacles that we are facing. And then to round out things, this should be great solace. It means that very few obstacles are ever too big for us, because that bigness might in fact be our advantage, because we can use the bigness against the obstacle itself. Remember, a castle can be intimidating and an impenetrable force, or it can be turned into a prison when surrounded. The difference is simply a shift in the action and approach. Oof, I like that. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed reading this particular strategy. We are going to continue our reading efforts, and hopefully this provided you guys some value. Thanks.